It must be abolished, repealed. That IRS must be eliminated. 95% of all sales, final retail sales, are by these big retailers. And John Harvard did a study. They said when you take this burdensome load that the tax code has on these companies don't want to leave America. We're a capitalist system. And our Congress has chased these companies away. They can't make a profit here, John. It's our problem. We've got to change the system. And no one's talking about doing this because everybody's afraid. There's no program, John. There's no leadership. Now, I've been a Democrat all my life, but as you said, I supported many Republican initiatives. In fact, the Democrats got mad because I campaigned for many Republicans that I thought were better than Democrats. That's the way it is. If it's good for the country, I'm for it. But here's one thing. One thing is very important. We as a nation, we've got to put the politics aside, and these two parties are impotent. We need a third party, even if it's just enough to change and challenge them to the point where they're starting to look at the issues. But America can be salvaged, and I think it can have boom times again, very much so. And I feel very strong that once that tax code is taken place and replaced, America's going to take off. Imagine this, John. No more withholding. If you're making $2,000 a week, you get $2,000 a week. You decide where you spend it. You decide if you save it. If you save it, there's no taxes on it. If you buy a duplex, it's an investment, no taxes on it. If you send your kids to college, no taxes on it. Capital gains tax, we want you to make money. No taxes on it. You die, we don't want the government to come in and force you to sell to take care of the taxes. No death taxes. But the main thing, that car that's coming from overseas is going to have that 25% tax on it, just like ours. And our car that's leaving America carries no more load. And like Harvard said, when you take that burdensome tax code off these companies, they're going to have so much downward movement that the competitive edge is going to be so strong, they predict there would be negligible, if any, increase in current prices, which at 25%, John, include taking care of Medicare and Social Security. This is where we are, my man. This is what this country's got to do, and if they don't do it, it's going to implode. You're going to see states begin to unravel, just like the Soviet Union. It might be 10 years, might be 15 years, but it's inevitable, John.
I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, we'll take the break.
You're tuned in to the National Intel Report, the Real Talk Radio Show.
I'd like to personally thank Mr. Trafficant for coming on air. He just recently had minor surgery. How are you feeling, Jim?
I had some surgery on my eyes. I had a couple of growths, and they were removed, and I had the final bit done today. So, but it's okay. I'm glad to be on your program. I said I would be on, and I don't know when I'd get a chance to be back on. I'm just starting to get pretty busy, John.
I can understand that. Let's go to the phones. We've got loaded lines here. Let me first go to Mike in Ohio. Hello, Mike.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I believe that Mr. Trafficant would make a very fine president, along with Ron Paul. But I believe that if they ever got in, that the elites would probably have every hired gun in the world after them. Try to take them out because they're for the right thing, and they lose out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but let's keep something in mind, Mike, and Jim, you've been seeing this. You saw when the Democrats were out there trying to sell national health care. There was 1.5 million people that showed up in Washington, D.C. a couple of months ago. There's been demonstrations against the Federal Reserve banks all over the country. People are pissed off, and they've had enough.
I agree with you. I know that. I see that myself. Well, look what they're doing to that Sherry Jackson. Sherry Jackson, yeah.
By the way, you aware of that, Jim?
I'm not totally familiar, no.
Sherry Jackson, she worked for the IRS. She looked into it and said, you know what? There is no law that says I have to pay income tax. They sent her to prison. I think the sentence was 7 years. She's got severe thyroid problems. They're not treating her for it, and she's going to die.
Yeah, well, they were hoping I would die in prison, too. Well, send me some information, John, on that. Let me look into it. Let me say one thing. I've had some problems with the IRS, but I haven't been afraid of them. And number one, this is our country. The problem in America is Americans fear their government. There's something very wrong in this, folks. So, Mike, let me tell you something. One thing for sure, Ross Perot put up a run. Patrick Buchanan put up a run. There have been people that put up a run, but they haven't put together the program with the run. I am going to tell you this. I'm a very unusual guy, and I've been laughing since people have been calling me all around the country. But there's groups around the country that want to hear me come and speak because they heard me on these national shows, and they know that our system of government, rewarding dependency and subsidizing illegitimacy, and if you work hard, you get hit over the head, they know it's got to be changed, and they like the politics. And I'm going to make this statement to you. If they ever get me in a debate with some of these jackasses in Washington, it'll be a Donnybrook. Believe me.
They won't do it. They won't debate you.
Well, I think they might be forced to finally debate somebody, if it's not me, someone like me who does have a program, who's not afraid to speak out, who has warned the American people, and be careful. When I say this, if something's not done about this stranglehold that Israel has over America, we're going to be involved in Iran, like John talked about. We're going to be involved, and we're already bankrupted over Israeli wars. Enough is enough now. Somebody has got to say, look, the United States of America is going to be a friend to everyone, but the world's got to take care of the world's problems. We'll participate, but we're not rushing in there like John Wayne anymore. We're going to straighten America out and do what's best for America.
Jim, we've got a seated president right now that is on the UN Security Council. He's already secured a chair. He is going over to Copenhagen. He's stopping by Oslo. What a joke this is, to pick up the Nobel Peace Prize. And while he's there, he's going to be signing some documents that's going to be signing away our sovereignty for this country. Welcome to the New World Order. And this seated president, and I don't call him President Barack Obama, I will not put president in the same line.
Well, let me say this, John. The American people elected him. But the truth of the matter is the Republicans had a hell of a shot, and they blew it.
They turned
out to be just like Democrats. And the point is, there's not much difference between a Republican and a Democrat anymore. We're not getting a choice. And it's not just about the things we're talking about. And Barack Obama, quite frankly, Barack Obama was used to keep Kerry and Gore out of the race because they wanted Hillary Clinton, and they thought there was no way that Barack Obama would beat Hillary Clinton. And then the American people got fed up with the Clintons getting all that money from China, and they just says, we're tired of the Clintons, and they voted for Obama because they were sick of the Republicans. But the bottom line is, there's nobody with a program. All they're doing with is tinkering with the same thing. My God, they're going to talk about another stimulus bill. These people are putting us in debt, trying to grow wealth from more accumulated debt. Even Newton's theory of relativity could speak to this simplistically. Think about it.
Well, look, Jim, our Congress critters in Washington, D.C., I mean, if you ask them about Newton, they'd say no. When you drop an apple, it always goes up. Let's go back to the phones here. Tom in P.A. Hello, Tom.
Good evening, Mr. Trafficant, my hero. I watched you on C-SPAN, I guess it was C-SPAN, when you gave your speech before the Congress. You defended yourself, and I thought you were the best, and I couldn't believe that they did what they did to you. I have a question. Besides Gary Condren, was there anybody else in the Congress that voted to acquit you or voted on your behalf?
No, there wasn't. There were a couple of people that voted present. But you just keep this in mind. The first call was an oral vote. They called for a voice vote. And on the voice vote, there was no. They didn't want to expel Trafficant. But when they called for the recorded vote, and they knew that the big, powerful enemies of Trafficant would be looking at that vote and targeting them for how they vote, they voted then to expel me. But on the first voice vote, they voted to keep me in Congress.